His presentation is a discussion of SMTP and POP3. SMTP stands for Simple Mail Transfer Protocol. POP3 stands for Post Office Protocol 3. This presentation is presented by Christopher Hill for ISA 4220 Server System Security. On this slide, I'll be discussing mailing protocols. Every business has a goal, and reaching that goal will be not possible without communication. So communicating the activities will allow any businesses to do their job efficiently. Information is the main tool they need in order to reach these goals. Communication is an ongoing process. Communication uses different type resource or media. Communication has to be non-stop, borderless, and no culture constraint. So, without communication nowadays, you're limited. So it's either for businesses or regular people need to communicate. Even through this class, we communicate with the professor through emails because it's an online class. So communication nowadays is 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 really important. You can't live without communicating. So communication has become mandatory on this world nowadays. It's either for businesses, for regular people, for doctors, for nurses, for students. Communication is key on the day-to-day activities, and you can communicate with the person who lives 1,000 miles away from you, and communication solve all those issues. So nowadays, communication play a major role. On this slide, I'll be discussing mailing protocols. Communication has a cost, and that cost has a huge impact on business activities. The major issue push businesses to have a communication strategy that will lower the communication cost and make the activities more efficient. Nowadays, it's really common for businesses or individuals to use email. But back in the days, when there was no email, when there was no internet, businesses had to communicate. So they had to use other ways to communicate. So we had, the postal office, uh, fax machines, but those were really costly and they were not as efficient. So the use of information communication technology will highly cut down the communication costs of nowadays businesses. In that way, information can be sent in different format. One of the best tool used in information communication technology is an email. Email use software, hardware, and protocol. And email are so efficient because when you send an email, you get it right away. So it's way more efficient than sending a mail by post or sending a fax, which can take a couple of minutes, or the line might be busy, But sending out an email is way more efficient, so it's really faster. So the process of sending and receiving emails is done using different protocols. Simple Mail Transfer Protocol, called SMTP, and Post Office Protocol 3, POP3, and Internet Message Access Protocol, IMAP, are used for emailing. Simple Mail Transfer Protocol, SMTP, is used to send emails, and POP3, called Post Office Protocol 3, and IMAPs, called Internet Message Access Protocol, are used to receive emails. So basically, we use SMTP to send out the emails, and then to receive them, we use POP3 and IMAP. On this slide, I'll be discussing SMTP protocol. So SMTP stands for Simple Mail Transfer Protocol. It is a protocol used to send emails, messages among users, and it is a server client service. Most of the SMTP operation reside on the mail server. SMTP use the TCP port 25. SMTP receives client requests for sending an email via a mail client. So, mail client can be Outlook. Uh, it can be any kind of mail Outlook. So we have Outlook. Outlook is one of them. Um, we have application on our phones and others. SMTP process the mail based on the organization policy. So depending on the policy, that's how SMTP send the mails. You can send them right away. You can send it. You can send them uh, by by every 25 seconds or every 30 seconds. It depends on the organization policy. On this slide, I'll be discussing POP3 protocol. Sending an email is different from receiving an email. The Post Office Protocol 3, also called POP3, is the protocol responsible for receiving emails. User receive emails via the mail client. POP3 is the most recent version of a standard protocol for receiving emails. POP3 is a client-server protocol in which email is received and held for you by the internal server. So POP3, when you receive email by POP3, there might be delay sometimes since the since it's connected, since the emails goes through the server. So POP3 forward messages from a client to a server, then reach the destination client. So this is why there's a delay when you use POP3. Mails are deleted on the server after the user downloaded. So POP3 uses a TCP port 110. So this is why POP3 is not the best the best protocol for outgoing emails because of the delay. Uh, on this slide, I'll be discussing the best practices for SMTP protocol. Mail server application is installed on a server operating system that provides all the necessary resources for good processing. User client computer must be secured and up to date. If the user client, is not secured, anyone can get into your emails. it doesn't depend on the server. So so the client you're using has to be very secure. If you're using Outlook, make sure you know you don't give out your password. The same thing for other applications, for other clients. If it is not if it is not secured, people can get through your emails, and that's a danger. So you need to make sure the computer is safe, your password is safe, you have a strong password, you have a computer with antivirus, so no one, so your email is safe. User must be trained regarding vulnerabilities because 50% of the attacks are conducted via emails. I mean, nowadays you hear it all the time. Never download any files from unknown sender. So these are the kind of cases. So when you download those kind of files, the hackers can get your emails, can get to your computer, and when they get into your computer, that's where they can get your emails. So that's why you need to make sure you never download any files because you don't know what is behind the files. There might be application, you know, viruses. So there might be viruses viruses that hackers can use to get into your computer. So that's why you never open any emails from unknown senders, especially the files. So that's why you have to be very careful. Server operating system must be up to date with patches. So this helps you basically make sure that your system is safe. There is no, your system is up to date. So whenever your system is not up to date, there are glitches, and hackers can use those glitches to get into your computer. So that's why you have to make sure your computer is always up to date, so your email is safe. On this slide, I'll be discussing the best practices for POP3 protocol. So POP3 is one of the most popular receiving email protocols, and that makes it very attractive for hackers. So before opening any new emails, each user must be sure about the origin of the emails. So you need to make sure that you know the user that is sending your email. Even if you know the user, you need to double make sure that the file, that you scan it first with antivirus before opening. Because nowadays, hackers can get into your friend email, computer, let's say, and then send out email. So that's why you need to make sure that you scan the file before opening it. Or if you see that the body of the email, you know, has no content or the content doesn't make sense, never open the email. Also, receiving email must be checked before being received by the user. So, like I said earlier, always check the files, especially the files, because usually the hackers, you know, send out files so you can download those files into your computer. So those files, those infected files, attack your computer. So that's why you need to make sure always check the email, especially if emails with files. Always make sure the files have no viruses. And lastly, email content must be verified before getting into the enterprise network. Like nowadays, like Google Gmail. So with Gmail, before downloading any files, Gmail scan it for viruses. So that's a good way of making sure the file is verified before user can download it. So that way, the network won't be infected with viruses. So that's an excellent way, an excellent approach for best practices for POP3 emails, basically, for not getting your entire network infected by viruses just by checking the files before users can download it. On this slide, I'll be discussing server hardening for SMTP protocol. The third-party server hosting the mail server is the last line of defense for the mail server application. So having secured and updated server is a must. Nowadays, many mail server application has an internal content verification capability. The DNS server must be secured to avoid the use of email services by any type of IP addresses. The MX record resolution have to be configured on the DNS so that only allowed IP address can use the mail services. On this slide, I'll be discussing server hardening for POP3 protocols. Email are incoming information, the enterprise network, and that make the security system very vulnerable to attacks. And through email, many types of information can be sent. Enterprise network and system administrator must be aware of the recent type of attack to avoid intrusion. Install firewall at the network side to filter unauthorized IP addresses. Install an instruction detective system at the network level and at the mail server level. Users must be trained to not communicate the email credential to any person. Conduct external penetration tests.